Welcome to the first episode in a two-part Legendarium series about the tragedy of Medea. A golden age of Greek tragedy unfolded during the 5th century BC, in large part because of Athenian competitions among playwrights. Some of the heroes and heroines of these tragedies, like Oedipus and Agamemnon, have become some of the most recognizable names in Western literature. However, these tragedies almost certainly have their roots in earlier folklore that likely dates back to the Bronze Age. Euripides became the last of the great Greek tragedians. He liked to pose awkward and unsettling questions to his audiences, and while popular with the public, he won only a few festival competitions. Of around 90 plays, only 19 of them survive, the most famous concerning the heroine Medea. As with many other Greek myths, Medea is intertwined with other mythological heroes and events. Specifically, the life of Medea is intertwined with Jason, the leader of the Argonauts who quested for the Golden Fleece to become the king of Athens. After his epic journey reached its end, Jason fell in love with a sorceress and princess named Medea of Colchis. Her family descended from the sun god Hyperion, which will become important later. For Greeks at the time, the kingdom of Colchis lay at the far eastern edge of the known world, a barbaric land of extraordinary mysteries. When King Aeetes of Colchis met Jason, he demanded that Jason perform a series of tasks before he could take the Golden Fleece home with him. Little did Aeetes know that his daughter Medea fell in love with Jason, and so Medea helped Jason to yoke the fire-breathing bulls of Aeetes. She then told Jason how to make the Spartoi, the warriors born from Sone's dragon teeth, kill each other rather than Jason, which I imagine Jason approved of. Finally, Medea put the Colchian dragon to sleep, ensuring that Jason could take the Golden Fleece. And when Jason completed these tasks, thanks largely to Medea, she fled with him for Athens. Of course, her father flew into a rage and sent his son and Medea's brother, Aspertius, to capture both of them. Medea tricked her brother by having Jason's ship slow down and then murdering her unsuspecting brother when he came aboard to accept Jason's surrender, or so he thought. She then chopped up his corpse and scattered the pieces into the water. King Aeetes, who by then had caught up with his son's ship, ordered his vessels to slow down so he could collect the body parts of his son and give them something close to a proper funeral. This act of compassion allowed the king's bloody-minded daughter Medea to escape with her lover Jason. She then traveled to the island of another sorceress named Circe, who once turned Odysseus's men into pigs. She also happened to be Medea's aunt, and Circe granted her niece absolution for the terrible crime of fratricide. Next, the two lovers came to the island of Crete. At the time, Talos, a bronze automaton, circled around the island, protecting it from invaders by throwing rocks at unwanted ships. Medea, with the use of herbs and poultices, destroyed Talos. And when Jason returned home to Athens, the old king refused to give up the throne in a timely fashion, like he promised. Once more it fell to Medea to act. She turned to the king's daughters and showed that she could restore an old sheep to youth by chopping it up, putting it into a cauldron, and then placing magic herbs inside. Medea then claimed she could make King Peleus young once more by the same method. So the daughters of King Peleus cut up their own father and placed the bits of his corpse into the cauldron. Of course, a young king did not emerge, and the daughters achieved nothing but the murder of their own father. Despite these crimes, the couple would not rule Athens, but had to flee to Corinth, presumably to avoid angry royals. There, Jason married Medea and had 2 young boys with her. For years they lived together as husband and wife, drinking deep from the golden cup of happiness, yet storm clouds blackened their blue sky. Most of Jason's fellow Greeks saw Medea as a bloody barbarian who would never be completely civilized. In part because of this, Jason suddenly abandoned Medea and his own children to marry Glauce, the daughter of King Creon of Corinth. He did so in the hopes of becoming the next Corinthian king upon Creon's death. And he left his wife Medea so grief-stricken that she spent days in bed and refused to eat. Her bitterness grew until she hated the sight of her own sons by Jason. One of her slaves became so fearful that she tried to keep Medea's 2 sons away from her. And when Medea finally emerged, she came out of it a changed woman and vowed to exact revenge upon her faithless husband. What happens next, we'll find out in part 2. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.